You ever stand in the kitchen with your morning coffee, look out the window, and wonder, so what now? You're retired, the rush is over, the clock no longer dictates your day. And yet, somewhere between the freedom and the quiet, a little voice asks if you're using this chapter the way it deserves to be used. If the money you've earned is really buying what matters most. See, retirement isn't just the absence of work, it's the presence of choice. For the first time in decades, how you spend your time, your energy, and yes, your money, is fully yours to decide. And that's not just freeing, it can be overwhelming. Because every dollar counts now, not just to survive, but to express, to enjoy, to leave a mark. This video isn't about pinching pennies or boring budget tips. It's about helping you align your spending with what brings you the most meaning, joy, family, wisdom, legacy. Whether you're living off Social Security, a pension, a 401k, or just good old discipline, this is your invitation to use your money in ways that light you up, not just keep the lights on. So if you're ready to turn every dollar into a tool, not just for saving, but for savoring, stick with me. We're diving into 6 clear, simple, soul-aligned ways to make your money stretch and sing after 60. And hey, if any part of this speaks to you, I'd love it if you hit that like button, subscribe to Vibrant Elders, and drop a comment below. Tell me what this new chapter means to you. Because you haven't slowed down, you've just shifted into something deeper. Let's begin with the first shift that changes everything. Number 1, align spending with your core values. Let's start with something simple, but powerful, your values. The heartbeat of how you want to live the rest of your life. Now, I know what you're thinking, values? That sounds like something from a self-help seminar. But hear me out. You've worked hard. You've earned every penny in your account. And at this stage of life, your money shouldn't just keep you afloat. It should reflect what matters to you most. So here's the question. When you look at your monthly expenses, do they align with what you believe in? With what truly brings you peace, connection, and joy? Because most of us, if we're honest, spend on autopilot. We pay the bills, swipe the card, maybe treat ourselves here and there. But we rarely pause and ask, is this spending in service of the life I want to live, or just habits I picked up along the way? Let's say one of your deepest values is family. Maybe Sunday dinners with the grandkids are the highlight of your week. That matters. So what if, instead of upgrading to a newer car just because your neighbor did, you put that money toward a yearly family beach trip? Imagine the laughter, the photos, the stories that come from that. That's spending with intention. Or maybe your core value is freedom. The freedom to wake up and go where you please, do what you love, without anyone dictating your time. In that case, take a hard look at monthly subscriptions you don't even use, or insurance plans with hidden fees. Could you cut those and redirect that money to something that actually enhances your freedom, like a camper van, or art classes, or simply peace of mind? And then there's contribution. Many retirees I talk to say they don't just want to coast, they want to give back. Maybe you mentor younger folks at your old workplace. Maybe you tithe, volunteer, or quietly help a neighbor behind on rent. That's sacred. So how do your dollars support that? Could you shift a little more toward causes that move your heart? Here's a practical step you can take tonight. Grab a sheet of paper and write down your top 3 values. Then, look at your last month's spending, not to shame yourself, but to get clarity. Highlight anything that doesn't align. You might be surprised by what you find. One man I know, 68 years old, told me he realized he was spending nearly $200 a month on takeout. Nothing wrong with a good meal, but for him, it wasn't joyful, it was just convenient. He made a small shift, started cooking again, invited a few neighbors over once a week. Same money, but now it feeds connection, and that's what he truly values. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." I'd add this, it also depends on the quality of your choices, especially when those choices reflect your deepest truths. So, when you look at your finances next time, don't just ask, "Can I afford this?" Ask, "Does this reflect who I am now and who I want to be next?" That's the first step towards spending that doesn't just stretch your budget, but stretches your spirit. Number 2, invest in experiences, not just stuff. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The things you remember most deeply in life usually aren't things. You don't lie in bed at night smiling about your best television purchase or the fanciest pair of shoes you bought. No, what comes flooding back are the moments. The road trip with your spouse before the kids were born, the night you danced at your daughter's wedding, the time your grandson asked you one of those impossible questions and then hugged you for the answer. That's the heart of this next idea. When it comes to spending money after 60, experiences give you a far greater return than stuff ever will. Science backs this up. Studies from places like Cornell University have shown that people get more lasting happiness from experiences than from material goods. Why? Because experiences become part of our identity. They grow in value over time through stories, through sharing, through memory. A thing gathers dust, but a memory gathers meaning. So maybe now's the time to shift how you invest, not just your money, but your presence. Instead of buying another gadget that sits on a shelf, how about planning a weekend getaway with your high school friends? Or a cross-country Amtrak ride with your spouse? Or that cooking class you always said you'd try when you had more time? Well, guess what? You do now. And experiences don't have to be grand to be powerful. Even simple ones, a fishing day with your grandson, joining a local birdwatching club, attending a storytelling event at the library, can fill your life with richness that no object ever could. One retired couple I know sold their second car and used the savings to travel to 3 national parks over the summer. They hiked together, took photos, had quiet evenings by campfires. When they came back, they told me, "We don't miss the car at all. We'd trade a garage full of stuff for those memories in a heartbeat." This kind of spending also keeps you active and connected. It fights off isolation, brings purpose to your calendar, and invites joy into your routine. You're not just surviving retirement, you're shaping it. If you're wondering how to start, look at what already lights you up. Maybe it's music, buy concert tickets instead of another trinket. Maybe it's history, join a local museum tour group. Maybe it's faith or service, go on a short mission trip or help build something meaningful in your community. And if you're on a tighter budget, don't worry. Some of the most powerful experiences cost very little. A picnic at a nearby lake, an afternoon teaching your granddaughter how to bake an old family recipe, a journal where you record stories from your youth to gift to your family. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Begin at once to live." Not to accumulate, not to wait, to live. So ask yourself, what would make you feel most alive this year? Then put your money, your beautiful, well-earned, hard-fought dollars, behind that. Because the joy you invest in others and the moments you collect will always outlast anything you can hold in your hand. Number 3, give strategically, leave a living legacy. There's something that happens when we pass a certain age. We start to think more about what we're leaving behind. Not in a morbid way, but in a deeply human way. We think about legacy, about the fingerprints we'll leave on hearts, not just paper. Now here's the truth a lot of people miss. Your legacy doesn't have to wait for a will. It can start today. In fact, some of the most meaningful giving happens not after we're gone, but while we're still here to watch it bloom. Giving strategically isn't just about writing big checks to charities. It's about directing your money, your time, and your wisdom toward things that reflect your purpose. It's about turning ordinary resources into extraordinary meaning. Think about mentoring. You've got decades of experience, life, career, relationships, mistakes, victories. That's gold. What if you offered just 1 hour a week to a younger person starting out in your old line of work? That time costs nothing, but its impact can echo for generations. Or consider starting a small scholarship fund at your local high school or church. Doesn't have to be huge. Even $500 can help a student pay for books, classes, or certifications. More than that, it tells them, "You matter. I believe in you." One man I admire, a retired electrician, used to quietly set aside part of his Social Security check each month. After a year, he used that money to buy tools for a trade student in his community. The young man, now working full-time, supporting his own family. That's legacy. You could also donate to causes close to your heart: veterans support, cancer research, animal rescue, environmental conservation. But here's the twist. Do it in a way that brings you into the story. Visit the organization. Volunteer. Write a note to the person receiving your help. Giving becomes richer when it's personal. Strategic giving also includes passing along traditions. Maybe it's writing down family recipes or recording audio stories for your grandkids. Maybe it's hosting monthly dinners where you talk about family history. Those things are priceless. And trust me, people remember them long after stuff fades. And if you're worried you don't have enough to give, Remember this. Generosity isn't measured by size. It's measured by intent. Giving isn't about proving anything. It's about aligning your heart with your habits. Even $10 sent with love or an afternoon spent listening can carry more weight than a $1,000 donation done out of obligation. As Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Strategic giving is how you do that. You turn your values into action. You make your time and your money say something about who you are and what kind of world you want to leave behind. So maybe the question isn't how much can I give? Maybe it's what kind of ripple do I want to leave? And how can I start making that ripple right now? Because the legacy you leave doesn't start when the clock runs out. It starts with your next decision. Number 4, master the art of enough. Let me ask you something. Have you ever bought something, maybe a new phone, a fancy jacket, or even a piece of furniture, and felt a little buzz at first, only for it to fade within days? You enjoy it for a moment, but then it just becomes part of the background. That's not you being ungrateful. That's human nature. And there's a name for it: hedonic adaptation. It means that no matter how shiny or new something is, we eventually get used to it. It becomes normal, and then we chase the next thing to feel that same spark again. It's a cycle, one that advertisers know all too well. But here's the shift. What if you could stop chasing? What if you could feel peace not from having more, but from knowing that what you already have is enough? That's the Stoic lesson right there. And mastering it, that's freedom. Now, I'm not saying to stop wanting. Wanting is natural. It's part of being alive. But there's a huge difference between wanting something and needing it to feel whole. When you retire, that distinction becomes clearer than ever. You're not working to climb a ladder anymore. You're working to live with intention. Let me give you an example. A woman I know, Linda, had a closet full of clothes. Beautiful items. Tags still on many of them. But she told me she always felt like she had nothing to wear. One day, she did something radical. She pulled everything out and only kept what made her feel truly comfortable and joyful. The rest, she donated. After that, she said she felt lighter. Not just her closet, but her mind. That's the art of enough. It's not minimalism for the sake of trends. It's clarity. It's peace. It's finally being able to look at your life and say, this is good. I don't need more noise to feel more alive. And it's not just about stuff. It's about expectations. About learning to enjoy a slow morning. Not feel guilty for saying no. Not measuring your joy by how much you produce or consume. You can apply this to your finances too. Take a look at your monthly spending and ask yourself, not just what you can afford, but what actually adds value. Do those subscription boxes really bring joy? Or are they cluttering your cabinets and your calm? Could you swap 2 takeout nights for 1 dinner with a neighbor? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. And that man ruled an empire. You don't need to own the world to feel full. You just need to stop believing that what's missing is always outside of you. So maybe today is the day you redefine wealth, not by how much you have, but by how deeply you appreciate it. Because when you master the art of enough, you're no longer living from lack. You're living from love for what is here, now, already yours. Number 5, start a small passion project with purpose. Something interesting happens when the 9 to 5 ends. You finally get time, but you also lose the structure that came with it. Some folks wake up feeling free, others a little lost. You don't have to clock in, but you also don't have the same pull to get moving. And after a few months, that freedom can start to feel like drifting. That's where purpose steps in, not in the form of a job, but in something more personal. Something rooted in your curiosity, your voice, your unique experience. A passion project. Now, don't let that phrase intimidate you. You don't need a business plan or a brand logo. A passion project is simply a small thing that gives you big joy and maybe even leaves a mark while you're at it. It could be writing your life story, not for a bestseller list, but for your grandkids to read one day. It could be restoring that classic car in the garage, not to sell, but to pass down. Maybe it's teaching people how to fix things, cook better, or plant tomatoes, something you've done 100 times, but that someone else is just learning. A retired woman I met last year, Mary, started baking pies again. She hadn't done it in years. One day, she brought a few to her local community center. Before long, she was hosting small workshops called Pie and Memories, where folks shared life stories while learning to make crust from scratch. It was beautiful, and it was hers. You see, purpose doesn't have to be profitable, but it does need to feel meaningful. And sometimes it brings income along the way, almost like a bonus. If you've got expertise in your field, you might consider consulting part-time, coaching younger professionals, or offering help online. Not to hustle, but to stay sharp, contribute, and enjoy doing what you know best. This is what many call a second chapter, and it's often more soulful than the first. Because now, you're not chasing credentials. You're chasing meaning. If you're thinking, I don't know what I'm passionate about, here's a trick. Look at what makes time disappear. What's something you do where you lose track of the clock? That's usually a clue. Or think about what people thank you for. That might be your hidden gift. The Stoics believe that every day was a blank canvas to express your inner virtues. And a passion project is your way of doing that, using your time, wisdom, and creativity to bring something new into the world. So don't think you've peaked just because you've retired. This chapter can be richer, deeper, even more defining. And the best part? You get to write it your way, because you didn't retire to fade out. You retired to rise, as a maker, a teacher, a quiet force of good. And maybe, just maybe, your small project becomes your biggest legacy. Number 6, spend time like it's your greatest asset, because it is. Time. It's the one thing we can't earn more of, no matter how clever or wealthy or disciplined we are. And yet, it's also the thing most easily wasted, especially when routines fall away in retirement. In the working years, time is structured. Alarms, meetings, deadlines. But once that all stops, the days can start to blur. You wake up on a Tuesday, and it feels like Saturday. A week flies by, and you wonder, what did I really do with it? That's why this final point may be the most important of all. Spend your time like it's your most precious currency, because it is. See, in retirement, your time isn't just free, it's powerful. And how you use it can either lift you toward fulfillment or quietly drain your spirit. Think of your time like a bank account. If you had $24 to spend each day, how would you spend it if you knew you couldn't roll any of it over to tomorrow? Would you spend an hour scrolling through the news or social media that leaves you anxious and disconnected? Or would you trade that hour for a walk with your partner, a phone call to your sister, or a visit with your grandchild? There's nothing wrong with rest, TV, or alone time, but when they become the default, rather than a deliberate choice, that's when life starts to drift. One of the most meaningful changes I've seen retirees make is creating what they call time anchors. A daily walk at sunrise, a cup of tea on the porch while journaling, a standing Wednesday breakfast with an old friend. These aren't obligations. They're rituals that bring rhythm, purpose, and presence back to their days. Another powerful approach is time blocking. You don't need a rigid schedule, but blocking 2 hours each morning for creativity, connection, or service can make the difference between a life that passes and a life that fulfills. You might volunteer at your church, learn guitar, join a local history group, take a daily walk and greet your neighbors by name. Teach your granddaughter how to sew. Whatever speaks to you, honor it. Protect that time like you would a doctor's appointment, because your peace is just as important. Many people reach their later years and say, I wish I had spent more time with the people I love, or I wish I had lived more in the moment. But here's the blessing, you're not at the end. You're still here. And that means you have today, and likely many tomorrows. Marcus Aurelius said, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. It's not meant to scare, it's meant to sharpen. So take the trip, make the call, write the letter, sit in silence with someone who needs you, laugh a little longer at dinner. These are not small things. They are the shape of your legacy. Because when your days are gone, it won't be what you bought or built that people remember most. It'll be how you made them feel. And you shape that with how you choose to spend your time, starting now. So here we are. You've listened, reflected, maybe even smiled as you pictured what these changes could look like in your life. And if there's one thing I hope you take from all this, it's that your retirement isn't a quiet ending. It's a profound beginning. You've spent decades giving your time, your energy, your effort to others, your job, your family, your responsibilities. But now it's your turn. Not just to rest, but to realign. To make every dollar and every day count for something that lights you up. Whether it's aligning your spending with your values, investing in experiences that create lasting joy, giving with purpose, mastering the freedom of enough, starting a small project that fills your soul, or protecting your time like the treasure it is. You are not done building meaning. You're just doing it with clearer eyes and a fuller heart. Because a fulfilled retirement isn't about having the most money. It's about using what you have to reflect the life you've earned, the person you've become, and the peace you seek now. And if anything here has sparked a new thought or planted a seed, I'd love for you to let me know. Hit that like button, subscribe to Vibrant Elders, and drop a comment below. What's one small change you're inspired to make after today? Your story is still unfolding. Your impact isn't measured by how hard you hustle now, but by how intentionally you live. You're not just stretching your dollars, you're stretching your legacy, your purpose, your joy. And that is a life well spent.